My name is Katie. Welcome back to my channel. I have been away from the camera and from my furniture for a few weeks nursing a little bit of a back injury, but I am mobile once again and jumping right back into things with a really fun furniture flip. I picked up this little kid's desk from the curb a few months ago and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with it, but inspiration has finally struck, so I am going to dig it out from its dusty corner in the back of the garage and get to work. I started off by mixing up a fresh batch of TSP or trisodium phosphate, which is a really heavy duty cleaner and degreaser that is going to help me cut through whatever crud happens to be on the surface of this desk. I sprayed it down really thoroughly with the TSP and then gave it a good scrub with a little brush. No matter which cleaner you choose to use on your furniture, it's really important that you go back with some clean water and rinse it off before you move on to primer or paint, because any cleaner residue can really interfere with the adhesion of your products onto your surface. And I don't recommend rinsing your furniture with a garden hose. Too much water on wood is not a good thing, but it is so stinking hot here right now and the sun was shining, so I thought I would take advantage, give it a quick blast off with the garden hose, and everything was fine. Once the wood had had a really good opportunity to dry out all the way, I grabbed my sander and started scuff sanding. I'm not really sanding down to the bare wood on the majority of this desk. I'm really just using my 220 grit sandpaper here to scratch up the shiny surface on this piece so that my primer and then my paint has a little bit of a rough texture to hold on to. Pine is a really soft wood, which means that it marks or scars very easily. So I wasn't too concerned about getting rid of all of the scratches, dents, and dings in this piece. I just wanted to make sure that it was as smooth as I could get it in a quick 15-minute sand and that it was nicely scuffed. Then I used some compressed air just to blow away any sanding dust that I had created. Pine is also a wood that is notorious for bleeding or bleed through, which is basically just the natural oils or tannins in the wood being pulled up by a paint product and staining it yellow or orange. I prime most of my projects with Zinsser Bin shellac-based primer because I know that the shellac in this primer is going to thoroughly seal in any of those potential stains. I decided to spray my primer with my gravity-fed HVLP pneumatic spray gun for a quick and easy application. And you can see here, I decided to start with the desk upside down so that I could make sure I was getting into all of those details and hitting every surface. Unfortunately, when I was spraying, I could feel that I was not getting consistent air pressure. My first thought was that I had a clog in my gun, and after I checked that, that was not the case. It actually turned out that our air compressor had a leak in some of the fittings, and the tank was leaking air at a rate that the compressor couldn't keep up with. So as soon as I was finished spraying this coat of primer, my husband actually decommissioned our compressor. No more spraying for me until that gets sorted out. This shellac-based primer dries really quickly, so after about half an hour, I was able to come back and sand the primer smooth with a fine Surf Prep rad pad, just to knock back any texture that had accumulated from my inconsistent air pressure while I was spraying. And every time you sand, it's important to come back and remove the sanding dust because you want your next layer, whether it is primer, paint, or top coat, to stick to the surface and not be sticking to the dust. Since I couldn't spray anymore and it was so hot outside, I set myself up a little paint station in our kitchen, and then I popped down to my basement workshop to go through my paint stash and find a really fun, bright pop of color to use on this desk. I ended up choosing House and Canvas's vintage teal and grabbed one of my favorite paintbrushes to hand brush small projects with, which is Zebra's fan brush. took me about 20 minutes total to brush my first coat of paint on the desk. And then I wrapped up my paintbrush in just the plastic bag that my little drop cloth came in so that it didn't dry out. House and Canvas is a chalk style paint, so it dries very quickly. I gave it about 2 hours and then came back into the kitchen and applied my second coat of paint. For the top of the desk, I wanted to paint it white because I'm going to do a fun detail on there. And I decided I'm going to roll it. Why not? It's just one big flat surface. So I grabbed a foam roller and a paint tray, lined my tray with some tin foil for easy cleanup, and applied 2 coats of House and Canvas in the color Angora, which is a beautiful, soft, warm white. Before I moved on to my fun detail on the top of the desk, I wanted to seal up the vintage teal on the body. So I poured out a little bit of House and Canvas's matte varnish into a separate container and added just a tiny bit of paint to tint it. Tinting your top coat with a little bit of your base color really helps reduce the chance of streaking when you are brushing on a liquid top coat like this. I applied 2 coats of this top coat with the same zebra fan brush that I used to paint the base. I just washed it out with a little bit of Dawn dish soap and water, and then it was ready to go. While my second coat of varnish was drying, I grabbed my laptop and downloaded a terrazzo design into the Cricut design space so that I could make myself a fun stencil to put on the top of the desk. I purchased the SVG file for this stencil on Etsy, and I will leave that linked for you in the description box down below if you want to check it out for yourself. I did customize it a little bit with a few extra little chips of terrazzo tile and resized it all to make sure that it would fit on my cutting mat. And then once I was happy with the design, I cut it out with my Cricut machine. And in typical Katie fashion, I cannot locate my Cricut weeding tool to save my life. Couldn't find it anywhere. I'm sure that I put it away in a very safe space after using it on a project completely unrelated to Cricut or vinyl, but I can't find it. So I ended up using this little scraper to weed out any of the excess vinyl. And then I had my very own terrazzo stencil. You guys know I don't stencil very often. This is not my forte by any stretch of the imagination, but I stuck my stencil down and then very carefully peeled up my little transfer tape, and I was ready to start painting. To create the colorful, playful design that I want on the top of this desk, I grabbed a whole bunch of these little $1 acrylic paints from Michael's, and I'm going to be dabbing them on in a random pattern with some of these little latex makeup sponges. I was really careful here not to apply too much paint to my sponge and make sure that I dabbed off any excess paint before applying it to my project. That way I won't have any excess paint bleeding up under the stencil, and I'll get more crisp lines this way. Once I had my stencil all filled in, I carefully peeled it up off of the corner of the desk and then just turned it 90 degrees and stuck it down on the next portion. Just paint and repeat. Once all of my stenciling was done, I let this beautiful pattern dry for a few hours and then added another 2 layers of the same matte protective top coat over this surface as well. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the finished product on this little desk makeover, but don't click off this video until you have watched all the way to the end. I have some really important business information to share with you guys. I'm so obsessed with this little desk. I love the bright, fun pop of color and pattern on this, and I cannot wait to see a little one sitting at it creating again. For the last about 6 months here on the channel, I've been giving you guys a breakdown of materials costs, sometimes how many labor hours go into a project, and then giving you the final listing price that I plan on reselling my creations for. Well, my furniture flipping business, Salvaged by K. Scott, has changed a lot in some pretty extraordinary ways in the last year. And I wanted to let you guys know that because of your views here on the channel, thumbs up, comments with words of encouragement, and you guys taking the time to click that subscribe button, I am now in a financial position that I have decided to shut down the furniture sales portion of my business and instead start donating all of my fun furniture flips to local charities and people in need. I got the chance to meet 2 incredible gentlemen from my local Habitat for Humanity restore last week. They backed one of their big box trucks right up to the garage, and I felt blessed to be able to donate 5 pieces of furniture to that Habitat restore, where they will sell my pieces, and all of the profits from those sales will go towards the Habitat for Humanity charity and local habitat builds in my community. For me to be able to continue to donate these furniture pieces that I use to create content here, what I need from you guys is to keep watching these videos, keep leaving me a thumbs up, keep leaving me comments down below, and make sure that you are subscribed so that you never miss out on a brand new furniture flip. I hope that you're feeling inspired to look at some of your own furniture pieces a little bit differently instead of tossing them and replacing them with new, and maybe even feel empowered enough to take on a painting project. Thank you so much for hanging out with me again today in this video, and I will catch you guys next time.